What's up guys, welcome back, and in this video I'd like to style the Nuxt application we made in the last video using Tailwind CSS. So in the last video we made this app using Nuxt where it pulls from the IGDB API, and we have a list of video games here, and if we click into one of them then we get the details for that game. So here's the design I came up with. So here's the list. And here's the details page. So let's go ahead and style this. So let's start with the navigation here. And we already laid that out in the previous video. So let's just continue and let's style it. So let's go into the default layout here. And as you can see, there's styles here. I'm going to remove all of this because this is already defined in Tailwind. So I'm just going to take everything out here. Let's remove this as well. Okay, so the fonts I'm using are, for the heading, I have one called Montserrat, and for just normal text, I'm using Open Sans. So how do we use Google Fonts within Nuxt? So if we go into our Nuxt config here, there's a section here where you can specify stuff you want to put in the head. So I'm going to paste in what you would normally paste in for Google Fonts. So I have the two fonts I'm using and their associated weights. So all we have to do is make another section here for that Google Fonts. So let's change the rel to style sheet. We don't need this type. And the href is this. And that should import Google Fonts for us within Nuxt. So I'm going to get rid of this. Actually, let's leave that in there. And let's make sure we add the comma. And now I'm going to go into my Tailwind config. So Tailwind.js, so for fonts here. And I'm going to add, for the sans stack, I'm going to add Open Sans. And I'm going to add another one here called heading. And this is going to be for my headings. So let's do this. And I'm going to use Montserrat. So how to spell that? Montserrat. Make sure we put that in quotes. And let's add sans serif as a fallback. Okay. So now back into our default view. I'm going to start styling it here. So I'm going to give this a class of font sans. Let's make everything black, and let's make everything anti-aliased. Let's see if our fonts are kicking in. Let's refresh the page. Let's just check here. Okay, so it is Open Sans. And I don't think it's getting it from Google Fonts, but I do have it installed on my computer. Let me just restart my Nuxt server. Okay, now it's getting it from Google Fonts. Okay, so we're good. Okay, so let's start with the navigation. So we just have this very basic nav here. So I'm going to use Flexbox. So I can justify content space between with this, and then with this right section. Okay, so let's go ahead and do that. Let's go to our navigation, and let's just add some classes here. So it's BG blue darkest. And the menu items are semi-bold. And then after that, we want a container. So container in the middle. And then let's just wrap that like that. Let's make it flexbox. Let's make it justify between items center. Let's give it some padding. All right, let's see how that looks. And it looks decent. We just have to make the links white. So let's add the 3 links on the right first. So this is the first flex item. So let's make the second one a div. Let's do that. And let's give it a class of flex. And then we're going to add some more Nuxt links within here. And the first one's about, let's actually style it first. We're going to style both at the same time. Right here. Okay, so class equals text white, no underline, hover, text gray, light, and see how that looks. Okay, there's a hover, cool. And let's just make the other 2 links here. So I'm not going to make routes, so I'll just make them all go to about, but I'll just change what it says. So this one is blog about login. And let's give them a margin so they're separated. So I'm just going to do this. So margin left of 16. Okay, so that looks pretty good to me. Okay, now let's work on this grid area. So let's go into the index view. And let's start here. Let's give it some padding. And I'm going to start with that H1. Let's give it a class of font heading. Let's make it uppercase. And let's give it some margin on the bottom. So popular games. See how that looks. Okay. So now let's work on the grid of games and their covers. So here, game container. Let's make it flex. Let's make it wrap as well. And let's give it a negative margin. And I'll show you why I did that in a second. Well, I'm just going to offset the padding I give for the grid items, which you'll see in a second. Okay, let's see how that looks. Okay. So I want 5 for each row. So I'm going to give each item a width of 1/5. So for each Nuxt link, let's get rid of this. I'm going to do width of 1/5. And then I'm going to give a padding of 4. And that's what that negative margin is for, to offset this padding. So it still lines up. And let's give it a bigger margin. And let's make sure there's no underline. So yeah, I already did this before, and I'm referring to the other project, in case you're wondering how I know where everything's supposed to go. So yeah, that looks pretty decent. Okay, now let's just style the title and the genre. So it should look something like this. Let's go ahead and do that. So right here, it's going to be text, black, font, semi-bold. Let's make it a larger text. Let's give it overflow of hidden. This is just so it always remains one line, even if the title is long. We also have to give it white space, no wrap. And overflow dots is a custom utility, which I'll add. Let me just do the other one here, and then we'll add that custom utility. So this one is text gray darker. It's a bit smaller. Again, overflow hidden, white space, no wrap, overflow dots, and some margin or some padding on the bottom. So let's go ahead and add that overflow node dots class. I'm going to my Tailwind CSS, and let's just add it right here. So overflow dots is just going to be text overflow ellipses. So it just adds 3 dots if the text is too long. Okay, and let's see how that looks. Let's refresh, hard refresh, and there you go. So you see the 3 dots for any titles that are too long. So yeah, it would look better if all of the covers were the same size, but unfortunately the covers are not the same size coming back from the API. If you really wanted to do that, you can do some stuff with CSS, or it seems like they're using Cloudinary for their images, and I know Cloudinary has a lot of features for cropping, but I am fine with this. So while we're here, let's go ahead and make it responsive. Let's go back to our index. And for each of our items, we just have to set a breakpoint. I'm just going to do 1. So for medium size and up, it's going to be 1/5. For anything below that, it's going to be width full. And I think that should do it. Let's see. Just resize the browser. So there you go. That's below medium. And that's fine. For the container, I just want to add some padding on the left. We can actually do that in the Tailwind config. Where's Tailwind? Right here. If you go to plugins, we can just uncomment this out and give it some padding on the left and the right. So let's see if that worked. There you go. Cool. Okay, now let's move on to the other page. Okay, so let's take a look at the design for the other page. So this gray background is supposed to have a background image. So the idea is to have one of the screenshots going here. So we'll do that later on. We'll leave it as gray for now. Okay, so let's start. ID. So let me just comment all of. Actually, no, we need a root div. So let me just comment all of this out. Yeah, just comment this out. And the root div actually has to be the hero. So the gray background area. So BG gray, dark, and yeah. Now the container goes here. So .container, MX auto, flex. Okay. And let's just see how this looks. Okay. So the idea here, if I turn on my grids, so this is 3 of 12. So that's 1/4, I believe. Yeah. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay. So we want to separate this into 1/4 and 3/4. And then the same for down here. And for this cover image, we'll give it a negative margin to push it up. So let's do that. Separate this into 1/4 and 3/4. So let's give the first flex item to be 1/4, 1/4, put some text in there. And then this one, 3/4. Let me just, sorry. Let's duplicate that and let's make it 3/4. All right. Okay, looks good. And let's give this a bit of margin on the left, this area. So I'm going to do that here. Margin left of 12. And this is where the title and the publisher goes. So this section here. So let's put that in there. H1 dot font heading, text white, and let's just say Red Dead Redemption 2. We'll put that in there later. So I'll hard code stuff in for now. And the publisher, let's make it a div dot text white and Rockstar Games. All right, see how this looks. Cool. But we want this hero section to have a certain height. So let's give it a height. So I'm just going to inline it here. I'm just going to do style equals height of, let's say, 350 pixels. See how that looks. Okay. And we want this to be down here. So we can just do items end, which will use flexbox and justify it or align it to the bottom. Cool. And let's also give it some padding so it's not up on the edge. So padding bottom of 8. Okay, and obviously there's going to be no text in here. So just get rid of that. And that looks pretty good. Okay, we'll worry about the background later. Let's just continue with this next section. So let's start with this. Okay, so let's make a new section down here. It's container, MX auto, flex. And let's do the same thing with the widths here. Let me just grab this. Sorry, this goes within here. Actually, no, I need one more div, one more root div here. Let's close this. And let's indent this. Okay. Let's see if that still works. It does. Now we can add a new section here, like this. And let me just indent this. Cool. Okay, so let's just see if this works. Okay, so let's get the image in here, the cover image. In here, this is where the cover image goes. And I'm just give it the image. And I guess I'll just put the actual dynamic information here. So game.cover. So we did this in, it's actually up here, right here. So I'm just going to grab all of this. Just grab all of this actually. And that should work. Cool. Let me change this. This should be game name, game.name, and this will be game.publishers 0.name. Okay. Let's push this up with a negative margin. So I'm just going to wrap this in a div. You don't have to, but I like wrapping it in a div, sort of like a container. Actually, no, I'm not going to do that. Just remove that. I'm going to put the negative margin right here on the 1/4. So it's a negative margin top of 16. And that should push it up. And it does. Cool. And then what's next? The platforms. So let's add a div here. Actually, let's add a margin bottom of 8 here. And let's add a div. Margin bottom of 4. And it's a platforms. And I'm going to do this. I'm going to do a v4 because platforms is an array. So platform in game.platforms. And then the key is platform ID. And then we can just spit out the platform.name with a comma. And let's see if that works. Cool. So PC, PlayStation, and Xbox. I'm just going to switch the game up to this game, which I'm really hyped for, and it's coming out in a few weeks. And if I'm not uploading anymore, it's just because I am spending all my time playing Red Dead Redemption 2. So let's go ahead and continue. What is next? The release date and the official website. So let's do that. So I'm going to do another one here. MB4. And I'm going to copy this. This is going to be released. And then this is going to be a new date. So this is a Unix timestamp right now. I'm just converting it to a human readable form. So game.first release date. Then we can just use the toDate string method. See if that converts it. Okay. And next is the website, official website. So I'm just going to grab this. Actually, no. I'm just going to make a new one. MB6. And it's going to be a link. And I'm going to bind the href. Let's just say official website. And the href, I'm going to make a computed property. And let's just say get official website. So I'm doing that because websites is an array. So if you look at it, it's an array of websites, but we only want one. So right now there's 8. And there's different categories. There's like the YouTube channel, Twitter, But category 1 is always the official website, and that's what we want. So I have to filter down to category 1, and that's what we'll do in the computed property here. So I'll put it up here. Computed get official website. And I'm just going to do this. Return this.game.websites. So that's an array. I'm going to filter. And I want to filter where the website category is 1. Because 1 is the official URL. But that's going to give me just an array of 1 item. So we just want that. We want the URL. So let's see if that works. Get official website. Okay, see if that works. And yep, if you look on the bottom left, it goes to the Rockstar Games website. Okay, what is next? The overall rating. So let's do that. Okay, let's do MB10. And I'll do a div with a class of, this is where the rating goes. So it's a big font, 5XL, semi-bold. And I'm going to do math.round because some of these values are long decimals and we just want one value. We just want the integer value. Game.total rating. And we can put % here if we want. And another one here, font, semi-bold. And this will say overall rating. Okay, see how that looks? Cool, not a number. The game's not out yet, so that's what we're getting. But if you look at a different game, refresh. Yeah, so we do get a rating, so I'm not going to bother fixing that. Okay, what's next? The summary. So that's easy enough. So I'm just going to add some padding here. This is the other section. And let's put that summary in a p tag. Let's give it a margin bottom as well. MB12. Game.summary. See how it looks. Let's give it some leading, some line height. Okay, it looks better. And now it's just the screenshots. So similar to what we did on the other page. Let's do that. So it's going to be flex wrap. I give it a negative margin. And I'm just going to make an anchor link. It's not going to go anywhere, but because we want this to be clickable. And V4 screenshot in game.screenshots. And the key is going to be screenshot. There's an ID called Cloudinary ID, which is unique. So we'll use that for the key. And let's make it 1/4. Width of 1/4. So width 1/4. And we'll give it some padding and a margin bottom and no underline. And within here, this is where the image goes. So I think I have it up here in the comments. Actually, no, let me just do it here. Source is going to be screenshot.url.replace t_thumb with t so this is a different size. But just look it up in the docs. And then we'll call this screenshot. And let's not forget to bind this. And I think I forgot a closing bracket. Okay, let's see if that works. There we go. There's all the screenshots for Red Dead Redemption 2. And it looks good. Okay, now let's add the screenshot in here. So I just want to grab one of these and make it a large image here. So let's go ahead and do that. So wherever we have that hero section, so it should be up here, right here, we can add another inline style. Let's bind it actually. So I'm just going to use a template string here. So background, URL, and I'm going to make this a computer property as well. So let's just say background image, and let's make a background size cover. And let's make another computed property for background image. So where's computed? Right here. Background image. I'm just going to return this game.screenshots 0. This just grabs the first screenshot. And again, I'm getting a large size here. And I'm replacing it with 1080p. And if I did this correctly, this should load the screenshot. Cool. So if this were real, I would process this image so it's darker, so there's enough contrast between the text and the background image. And I'd probably try to use Cloudinary because they do use Cloudinary for their images, and Cloudinary has some cool options for that. Okay, let's make this page responsive as well. So back to our code. So for this section, I'm going to do the same thing I did for the other page. And for anything below medium, will be full width. Same with this. And for the margin, it should be only on medium and above. See how that looks. Let me just refresh. Okay, that didn't do anything. That's because we have to change the flex direction. So it should be flex column on anything below medium, but above medium it should be flex row. Okay. You can tweak this more, but I'm okay with this. Let's do the same thing for this section down here. So flex col, medium flex row. And down here should be width full, medium width 1/4. Same here. All right, see how that looks. Okay. And let's remove this margin here. So the margin should be only on medium and above. Okay. And let's do the same for the grid here. So width full, medium 1/4. Cool. So that's looking pretty good. And let's make sure our desktop view still looks pretty good. And it does. So there you have it, guys. We've managed to style out the application we made in Nuxt in the last video to look pretty decent, and it's responsive as well. Please like, comment, and subscribe if you haven't already done so. Thanks for watching, guys. See you in the next one. Okay, thanks. Bye.